Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. Your host, Robert Michaels. We have a very special show tonight. And I know I say that every time, but every show is special. Welcome to the platform. Ryan Roberts is with us. Also, Dan. Dan, I don't know how to say your last name. Is it
Moss?
How do you say it?
Dan Moss.
Dan Moss. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
I want to make sure that we were good. I was reading it out of your email, so I was going to throw some extra digits in there. But Dan Moss is with us. If you don't know the other guys, we know Todd. He's also known in the para world as Todd Pot. He runs Resurgence PPG, one of the most epic community projects that I can think of, and I completely endorse and support. By the way, I got one of his shirts.
Nice.
Boom. If you don't know what he does, you need to look into that. And we'll talk about that. He's got some great announcements tonight. We're going to let him have the platform at about the half-hour mark. And you're also greeted tonight. Calvin is with us, POCPPG on YouTube. You want to check out his channel. And then we have Larry from paraorangeproducts.com. He is actually one of our sponsors for the show. He runs Para Orange Products. If you're looking for paragliding, motoring, gear protection, bags, there's all kinds of stuff. Go to his website, and those links are at also in our website, which is paraglidingtalk.com. Go check those things out. Sean's somewhere around here. I don't know where he's at. He's down here somewhere. But he's having some technical difficulties. Google is not letting him log on. And so there's a conspiracy going on there. So just pay no attention to Sean tonight. He's just down there conspiracizing. So we have a great show. I'm excited. If you missed the last couple episodes, I got a phone call when we were out Christmas shopping, and Ryan called me. Now, Ryan, he's been in my life for the past couple of years. And when I was messing around flying at Little Black, he was out there also brushing up on his free flight skills. And together, he was kind of an inspiration to me, because I said, this is the guy. He's gonna go and launch off the hill while I was kiting at the bottom, and I watch him fly, and he'd come down and land gracefully and made it look easy. And I'm like, man, that is amazing. And I remember asking him questions, and so our lives took different directions. And one day he brought a paramotor to the site, and I was just blown away that you could put a motor on your back and take off and go flying. Right. That was the first time in person that I actually saw the paramotor. And so anyways, we exchanged phone numbers, and I would bounce off if it was a good idea to go flying that day. And I remember him giving me this little wind meter, and he handed me the wind machine could plug into your phone. And he was like, hey man, here, have this. And he just gave it to me. And I'm like, whoa, this guy just hooked me up, man. And that was such a big deal to me. And he was talking about, I was like, where'd you get that? And he's like, well, I designed it. And that's when I started asking him questions about what he does for a living and stuff. And at that moment, I knew this dude was top notch. And so we have him tonight. And him and Dan have been putting together some stuff, and we're going to talk about those things towards the end of the show. There's some incredible monumental type stuff that's happening in the flying community as we speak. And if you're a part of this show tonight, you're a part of the beginning. And this is some great stuff, cutting edge stuff. So I want to start off the show like we normally do. And I want to just ask you, Ryan, how did you end up getting into the flight? Now, I do know this. I know that you grew up kind of on an airstrip. Your dad ran some ballooning and some powered parachuting stuff. So take us through the beginning days, and how old were you when you first started getting off the ground?
Yeah, it's a good question. I wish I would have grabbed some additional photos now that I'm thinking about it. But Really, really young age. Like I grew up around the hot air balloon industry, which I think is kind of similar to Tucker's mom. I think she flies for a living and takes people for rides. I could be wrong, but I think I came across that. But so it was sort of the same scenario for my dad. He was a hobbyist on the balloon side of things, and that hobby eventually turned into a business, and he started manufacturing a really interesting class of hot air balloons, which were under a certain rating. This allowed anybody to basically buy a hot air balloon, go out in their backyard, inflate the envelope, fill it with hot air, and go fly around. And the idea was, and you'll probably infer from the name, is solo system. So the idea was that it was sort of individualistic in nature. It's something that anybody at a price point could, reasonably afford, and then go do the things that they want to do, essentially like fly around and land and, that. So yeah, that was the early stage of it. I grabbed an age that still exists online, and I can share the screen and show everybody, and we can kind of talk through some of that stuff. It's kind of cool.
That is cool.
So
yeah, bring it.
All right, let's see. All right, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so in brief explanation, this is actually one of my dad's old balloons and the solo system itself. And so in the same way that I sort of develop products now, it kind of came from a history of that in the flight side of things. And so it's on a trailer, which was custom made. It has a propane tank, holder for the propane tank, and then the fan for inflating the envelope, and then a vacuum formed gondola. And then the precursor to that is sort of what you see over here, which is essentially a trash can that you stand in. And that evolved into the product you see here, including the burner design, which was really kind of innovative in that regard at that time. So kind of interesting.
That's incredible. I think we lost him. Can you hear me, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm still here. Are you there?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that was really the first kind of, I would say, 10 years or so of flight for me. And then shortly thereafter, my dad kind of let it go for a while. He stopped having interest in it. I don't know, like life and work sort of took over. And sales declined. Essentially, hot air ballooning in the industry, which was already incredibly small, sort of dissolved. Interestingly enough, Cameron Balloons, the owner of Cameron Balloons, lived in one of my father's rental places for a while. So the history is carried on in a very interesting way, where Cameron Balloons still exists, and the owner was somebody that I was around. So yeah, it's weird how serendipitous most of this stuff is.
What a trip.
Yeah.
Are they still in contact? And is your dad still around? Is he still flying?
Yeah, I don't know if he still flies. Things have changed over the years, and ultimately, I think Cameron Balloons is really sort of the industry leader at this point, and the outcome of everything that was created early on is, what we see today. Yeah, it's cool.
What a trip. So, did you ever get into it to where you were actually piloting these balloons?
Not myself. I was too young at the time. But yeah, definitely lots of flights and lots of throwing things off the side of the gondola that I very distinctly remember.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So I have to ask, what were you doing? You're sneaking some stuff in your pockets, got up in there and
parachutes.
Oh, the GI Joes with the little parachute?
Exactly it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's exactly what I would do. That's great.
So as that whole thing kind of died off, there was this really interesting episode where that time span between, being really active in flight and around that all the time, just sort of like went quiet. And I would say it was probably like 5, maybe 8 years or so. And in between that time span, my dad actually literally dug a hole in the front yard with a backhoe and put his remaining balloon stuff in the yard and buried it. I don't know if that was some sort of like sentimental or mental thing, but that was literally the immediate transition into powered paragliding and powered parachutes. So shortly thereafter, we started seeing all of that stuff around the house, and it became almost like this, where everybody in the room is really into it, and it just became a collective hobby for all.
Wow. I do have to make an announcement. Toledo Fly Boys just announced that he stopped watching football on Thursday nights to watch this show. Congratulations.
That's dedication.
Good choice. What's football?
Yeah, what's football? You talking about soccer?
Yeah, right.
But the season's over with, so there's no Thursday night football right now, is there?
I don't think so. But it doesn't matter. Don't be going to search.
Oh,
I don't watch football. I fly.
That's right.
No, you don't, Sean. It's too windy in Ohio.
But I kite when I can't fly, so that counts.
Yeah. Or is it
that
cold? I mean, do you guys fly this time of year consistently?
They're psychotic. Yes,
Off
they
and
all
on.
do.
Yeah.
It's literally 60 degrees in my garage, and I have a hoodie on.
Yeah, I know. It's cold, bro. It's cold. It's cold over here.
It's going to be in the mid-30s out here, so yeah.
I had a guy in the chat mention before the last show. He said, "Can we mute anyone who mentions 60 degrees?"
That was close. I'm 2 degrees away.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
There was 85 people watching just a second ago. That is wild. Glad you're here, everybody. By the way, I didn't announce it in the very beginning, but we have a giveaway, a major. It is actually one of the biggest giveaways for the history of the show. If you were a part of the show last week, we talked about it. But Ryan called me up and he said, "I want to donate 52 of these smoke machines, and they're for paramotors." And so he's created a website for it. It's ppgsmoke.com, and he's literally donated 52. We haven't given one away yet, so don't worry. And the caveat is you have to go to paraglidingtalk.com, and then you have to fill out the form because it's a legit it's expensive. So I had to create rules for it because people are going to go crazy about it. You can't win more than one. There's like a bunch of little rules, and I wrote all the fine print, literally put it all together. So go to the website, paraglidingtalk.com, and then you can just do /contest. That should work. And then fill out the information there. And then your name goes into the system. And I'm going to be selecting actually the winner using a algorithm that we've created, and we're going to select the winner tonight. And then what you're going to end up getting is a little code, and you're going to go to the website, put in the code, and boom, bang, shebang, you get
Free smoke.
Free smoke. Yep. And so I did have a question about the smoke, by the way.
Yeah, fire away.
Can we do different colors?
I don't know. I
the future?
see it in airplanes, but I have no idea how they do it.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah.
Request. The
Yeah.
ones to be given away, pink.
Pink.
Make a pink. Yeah.
Or
No,
how about
okay.
camo? Yeah.
Camo color. I really do actually like the white smoke. So if I end up with a motor at some point and I get one of these machines,
Yeah.
I'm gonna want it to be white just because it looks so awesome.
Yeah. Good puffy white clouds.
Yeah, exactly. So I understand. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that later. So get your names in. A lot of you have already got your names in the giveaway. If you haven't got your name in the giveaway yet tonight, you're okay. I'm still going to apply your name to the contest. So that's how that's going to work. Talking about the powered paramotor and powered parachute stuff.
Yeah.
I have an interesting perspective on where you're talking about balloons, and then we were talking about some of the weather stuff and how you have to really, especially with balloons, you have to really know your weather incredibly well. Now you've created some stuff for weather that I think is cutting edge, and I want you to talk about that a little bit and how important that is to our sport.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's along the lines of some of the previous discussion you and I have had, where we all are in this interesting community where our hobbies are highly weather dependent, and thus our decision making is also highly weather dependent, right? The sort of like basic go, no go decision making, drive or no drive. For some of us, like living in Ohio, where we have to drive a long distance for flying or whatever it might be, those are time, they're economic, they're, you know, decisions. One of the interesting things that we sort of solved for, and I'll show y'all, is just what are the tools out there to make those decisions, right? And so, like, I think it's almost 10 years ago now. It's been so long. We started this project called Wind Alert, and that evolved into like so many different permutations. But it lives on your phone, Android and iOS. It lives on the web. It encapsulates a bunch of different forecast models now. And there's some really unique things that I'll show you guys just ever so briefly that will help you in decision making. So let me pull up the site and get signed in.
And that was a huge thing for me in the beginning, even talking to you. I was so fascinated with weather, and I think that's why I segued heavily into the free flight aspect, because I really liked the challenge of understanding the weather. Meteorology is so complicated. I mean, it's a science that realistically, how far along are we? 300, 400 years worth of trying to understand it, and still weatherman can screw it up and give the wrong answer, still have a job the next day.
Yeah.
This is a critical thing for us.
It really is. And it's gotten a lot better over time. But interestingly enough, one thing I saw today on the Paramotor Facebook group, somebody had posted a screenshot of just an absolutely wacky forecast. Like the forecast model completely misfired. And that happens all the time. So can you all see my screen okay again?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So talking through some of this, like how do you make objective decisions on where to go or what the conditions are, et cetera? Like, yeah, there are a multitude of forecast models, but what really makes this product different than anything else out there is the fact that Weatherflow runs and owns their own models out of a data warehouse in Colorado, right? So this is everything that you see here is like the core group of absolute weather nerds in the industry. It's a private company, super, super small. And so they sit around and basically take all of these weather stations, and there's like 45,000 total, and use the data from these weather stations to finesse the forecast models. So subjectively, you're getting a better forecast model when you're looking across our range of forecast products. The difference between the white and the yellow, which is huge, the yellow stuff are stations that are sited, owned, and operated by Weatherflow, meaning a meteorologist said, we need a station here because there's either a paragliding site or there is a kite surfing site or an RC site, etc. So those are essentially strategically placed stations. White is public domain data, meaning anybody in this chat room, anybody anywhere can grab a Davis weather station and install that in their backyard and feed that data to a multitude of locations that eventually ends up on Weatherflow's display of, Wind Alert, iKiteSurf, all these other products. So I think kind of segueing into the station stuff where it gets really interesting. And this is from that wind meter that I gave you like 2.5 years ago, this is the evolution. I'm not sure if you guys can see. So let me turn this off. Hang on. Let's see. Can you see now?
It's like an air freshener.
It is the finest. So this thing is a sonic anemometer, and it basically runs on AA batteries that'll last, about a year on a single set of batteries. But notice how small it is. The average Davis weather station that you saw on the white side of the graph or the map I was showing you was the culmination of these like giant, they look like a bucket. They're typically black, and there's a larger anemometer. It's mechanical. So this is the evolution of that category that came from the wind meter that I gave you. So they've moved away from these mechanical pieces into something that's anybody can install in their backyard.
That's incredible. So, I mean, that's like an eighth of the size of a normal one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that one, the one that I just showed y'all, is going down to Torrey. I haven't made it. The idea is to replace the station that's there, and I mentioned that in the last show. Now, so touching on the data side of things and the decision making. So, like, do I drive? Do I not go? Is it safe? So objective data and the time in which someone receives that objective data and makes a decision is really, really important. You look at Blossom, there's no station there right now. You're making gut check decisions on an interpolation. You're looking around Blossom to decide whether or not you go fly there. Right?
Well, what I usually do is actually I have my radio, and I'll just be sitting here, and I'll just go, is anybody on launch at Blossom?
You're close to it.
Yeah. That's cheating, I know.
No, but it's even better. I mean, you are the ultimate source of objective data.
You can just call me usually, and I'm up there.
Nice. So we got to get a station for that spot too then, right?
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
Well, here's a question.
I've got an idea where we could put it too.
Here's a question for you. It might be a little odd,
No.
coming from me, of course. But if that thing runs off of AA's, does that mean that if I was to put AA's in it, stick it on the roof of my car and drive down the road, would that give a false reading?
No, actually, that's something that they are partnering with. There's a multitude of these, like Uber for semi-delivery, right? Whatever. It's a huge category, and they're literally putting weather stations on trucks, and they use the calculated speed of the truck with a GPS to infer the actual wind speed around that or in the environment. It's crazy, dude.
Huh, that's wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a mobile weather station where essentially data sparse. Like Blossom would be considered data sparse, essentially decision-making data sparse.
Yep. Yeah, they've got a couple sensors, but there's one at like the school. It's in like a weird area where typically if that thing shows it's blowing at 6 miles an hour, you're standing on Blossom, add like 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so it's unpredictable. The direction's usually off a little bit.
Yeah.
The only thing I would worry about is camouflaging it to try to blend in and not get damaged. But if you know the guy who makes them, you just make another one.
Yeah.
You just keep putting them up there.
Can you listen? The one thing that I was gonna mention immediately after the Blossom discussion was like the biggest problem with weather stations is actually theft and damage, and it typically comes from kids, like just delinquents.
Yeah. Not my kids.
Paint it pink, and have that fart spray for when they go to steal it. It smells like poo.
You see that video? You had to.
That's
It's like 50 million views in like a week.
Jeez.
I mean, he did it. He went over the top.
Yeah.
With
That's
that
a product
video.
we can manufacture. I'm all over the smoke systems.
That's like your that would be like your realm right there. Something you would do. I could see Ryan Roberts creating that box. It would probably be a little bit more morbid though. No sprinkles.
Just fart spray.
A different kind of sprinkles. I don't know.
some mace.
Yeah.
Like, welcome.
Yeah.
This is what you do. This is what happens to you when you steal. So, we're talking about, and in just a minute here, give me like, I'd say we're 5 minutes away from talking about PPG, Resurgence PPG stuff. Mm-hmm. We talked about the weather stations, new hardware, this new technology. So if someone can reach out to you if they wanted to put up a station, because I know a handful of guys that would be interested in having that at their house.
Honestly, the easiest way is to just go to weatherflow.com and order one. And if somebody needs help, I'd be happy to help them.
And setup's pretty simple.
So simple, man. That's the onboarding process is like the biggest pain point in the Davis stations. This in the top of the box is this onboarding sheet. They've made it really easy.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay. So, there'll be a link in the description. You can get a hold of Ryan. Actually, you want me to just give out your email? Is that cool? Yeah. Okay. So it's Ryan at E1EVEN. So E1even.com. That's Ryan at E1even.com. If you have any questions about anything related to this flying obsession, reach out to him. Feel free to do that. We talked a little bit about that before the show. So the smoke system, want to talk about that, and maybe I don't know how much involvement Dan had with that, but how did you come to the idea? Like, you know what, I want to create a smoke machine for paramotors.
Yeah. So long story short, bought the Nirvana system and had a lot of problems with it, and the price point was just indicative of the industry as a whole. Everything's extremely expensive because nobody has the resources to manufacture and commoditize, meaning it's cheaper for me to run 1,000 of these in production than, anyone would ever suspect. Right. And I know that's not a profiteering mentality. That's hey, let's create something good. And the people that have been interested who haven't made a purchase decision can now make that decision because it doesn't cost $300.
Got it. So you're like, you know what, let's make this happen. You reached out to a couple of buddies and and I know, actually, I talked as soon as I mentioned that you were giving these to the show, a bunch of people were like, yeah, I know about that. And I heard about that, or everybody's all stoked about it. So it sounds like they're incredibly well made and are going to work. That's the difference. Some of the machines that I've seen, guys have made their own, and they just don't look like they're going to last, and they're not something that you'd be really interested in tying to your aircraft. Yeah. So that's the main thing. So this is something that they can, or that ultimately I'll get one eventually, that we can tie in pretty simply, and maybe we'll do a whole show on an install or something.
Live stream smoke.
Yeah. Just flying around in circles over Blossom.
Yeah,
I can't catch a thermal, but I can make one.
I can see them now. Finally,
yeah, I can see where they're at now.
Yeah, so I've got one here. Just touch on it for a minute, but
yeah.
So the pump itself, let me tilt the screen down. The pump itself is custom made, and then it sits in a custom housing. And so really that is the most expensive part. The stainless and everything else is relatively trivial. And then obviously the toggle switch and whatnot, and a check valve to make sure that the system stays pressurized and doesn't leak fluid. But yeah, it works really well. And then the canister itself, I think I briefly showed everyone last trip, but it's straightforward, man. It just basically like mounts to your frame, and it's simple.
It looked good on my machine.
Yeah, send me your address, man. I'll ship you one. You can smoke out Ohio.
Absolutely. You'll be able to see the thermals. I can make that happen.
Perfect. I'm still scared to get in them though.
And I know we're both trying to figure that out. Before the show, he was like, I think you've got more free flying hours than me. Yeah. And I might be looking up to you. And I'm like, oh gosh, we're doomed.
We should, after we rip through commercial, man, we should really touch on that, because I feel like it's almost a therapy session for me. And I think it'll resonate well with a lot of people who are paragliding or early paragliding.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so let's do order of business. One, you're going to need to go check out PearOrangeProducts.com. Larry and his wife have been supporting the show now for a few months. We're looking at 6 months now, 5 months, something like that. And Larry just has a great heart for keeping your gear good and making it convenient and building some quality products. I've checked out a lot of his stuff online, and he's actually sent me some stuff that I use. And it's good quality stuff. So go check out PearOrangeProducts.com. Larry, you have some you had some stuff that you wanted to bring to the table tonight. I'll give you the microphone.
First of all, say Happy New Year to everyone. I wasn't around for the last couple of weeks between oral surgery and the holidays. I've been kind of down a little bit, so just want to say hello to everyone again. We want to say thank you. We had a great holiday season, and the Bag Lady gives kudos to you, Robert. Says that she sees a lot of activity on the website following the show. So although the Bag Lady doesn't want to get on the camera ever, she does say every morning, Robert's show had a good effect last night. We made some history last week. For the first time since I've been flying a paramotor, my wife actually came to the airport and watched me fly. So that was history. I've been in aviation since '89. I think I got her up twice, once in a Bonanza, once in a Cessna. And she finally came out. We had a day free, and she took some videos. So that was history for us. But we want to thank everyone. We had a great year. We never expected to grow. I mean, this business started off as, well, let's try this as a joke. And, you know, we just can't believe where it's come so far. So we thank everyone. We still have the special. If you go online, order anything, go to the e-rebate page, put in the word Thursday, and you'll get a 10% discount, which usually is applied within 24 hours. So we really have nothing we want to show tonight, but a couple of big announcements coming out soon. I can't speak about them yet, but as you know, our last big announcement was that we started selling wings. We are a distributor for McPara, and done better than we expected with that. Of course, I am a paramotor guy. I fly a quad. So a lot of the people that follow me are people that fly paramotors. We don't do free flight, especially here in Florida. It's pretty flat unless you get towed. Mm-hmm. But we will have some more announcements within the next 90 days that I think are going to be a big plus for us. And of course, we're going to pass on some great savings and discounts to your viewers, as we always do, first and foremost.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I can speak for the quality of the glider bags. I'll tell you what, the Bag Lady has got some immaculate skills. Every stitch, right on the money. There are no flaws in this bag at all. And I've drug it around with me a week. I've kicked it in the dirt. I've rolled it in the mud. Bag Lady's going to hate me for that, but that's okay. It's tough. This thing is awesome.
Why are you always in trouble with the Bag Lady?
I think it's the dreads. I think she's jealous of my hair.
She loves you, Sean. She loves you.
I hope so. I love her. She's awesome. She does great work.
The only person that actually has met the Bag Lady is Tucker. He is the only person. They actually sat on the floor for, I don't know. Todd, I think you were there that day.
I was. Yep.
Yeah. I think that was the first time you and I met. You're probably the only one besides Tucker and the crew at Aviators that know the Bag Lady. Yeah.
Matt Minyard is in the chat right now, and he said, yeah, the bag is quality. It's 100%. I got mine in the mail. Woohoo. Thanks. So he won the giveaway.
Oh yeah. Last week.
And Larry sent it to him. And that was really quick. So I do want to segue into Resurgence PPG. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is our United States military and guys who have served or are serving our country. And if you're watching this show and you're a veteran or you're serving our country active duty, I really appreciate your service, and I'm seriously grateful. And I love America. And part of the beginnings of the show, I said I really want to make sure that we are military, pro-military, and especially being from a military town. Well, I say all that, and then who would have known that Todd would create a place where they can support our men and women in uniform, and such an awesome thing what he's doing. So I'm going to give him the platform. He's got some great news about Resurgence PPG.
So cool, thanks. First, it's really awesome because right when the show started, I actually got a text message from Matt Minyard, and he was just joking around saying, "Hey, I see you." And it's special to me because Matt Minyard was the tandem pilot that took me up on my first flight. Nice. And so Matt has been with me and been involved in this since day one. And it's really special that he's watching the show. And much love, shout out there to good old Matt Minyard. Still planning and hoping to do some work with him here in the near future. The big thing I wanted to talk about, I've got a couple announcements, but over 2018, one of the things we'd been working on was trying to demonstrate the accessibility of this sport. So many people, they look at the sport and they think it's a high endurance adventure sport, that kind of thing. But there's so much to the pure accessibility of the sport itself that we want to demonstrate that. And we've been able to sponsor candidates that had suffered PTSD. We've shown that this is really good from a therapeutic standpoint to help them with PTSD. One of our guys had a traumatic brain injury, had been blown up and, had a lot of emotional issues because of that with the TBI, and, really helping, develop therapies. And, this was just kind of a small piece of it. The last candidate that we actually sponsored was a paraplegic that we were able to train with Eric DeFore down in Florida on a quad. And so that was really cool. What we haven't been able to demonstrate yet, but we have lined up, is a single leg amputee. And this is really important because it goes back to a video
foot launch, by the way.
A foot launch, single leg amputee. And it goes back to a video that Aviator PPG had produced a couple years ago with Tommy Cunahan, who was an Army veteran who had lost a leg in combat. We got a candidate now. He lives near Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And he actually, I just bought his plane ticket for him the other day to head down to Aviator PPG, starts training January 19th. And so that's huge for us because that's really going to encapsulate the various disabilities that are in the adaptive veteran community. And it's really going to help us, show that this sport truly is accessible to everybody. Yeah. Anybody can get into this sport. And, so that's huge for us. And I want to thank everybody that's been supporting us so far, because it's the donors that have made it happen. And, part of that, obviously we run on pure donations. It's all about money coming in, so I can go ahead and sponsor these guys. And, when we do a sponsorship, we pay full tuition for their school, we pay for lodging, we pay for their travel, and we pay a per diem. So it's a zero cost experience for them. And they go through an entire training syllabus, whether it's with Eric DeFore or it's Josh Bowden out in Nebraska PPG, down at Aviator, so there is a significant cost to it, but it is so worth it to get these guys involved in the sport. And with that, one of the things that we're looking forward to this year is a couple partnerships that have been developing and coming about. The first one I'm super excited about. I got an email from a guy, and he wanted to figure out how we could do a business partnership and how he could really help support Resurgence. And it's interesting. The guy's a former Army helicopter pilot, now flies for the Coast Guard. So I think he believes he's still in the military and whatnot, but we won't joke about that. The Coast Guard's not really a member of national defense. But what? Okay, whatever.
Oh, you just started a
but
battle.
I know. Well, that goes back
Came
to
across that one.
Travis Burns and his career as a Coast Guard pilot.
Yeah.
But the guy's name is Alex Scott, and he started a company called A Warm Cup for Joe, and it is a coffee roasting company. And there are a number of veteran-owned coffee companies out there. Some of them have gotten really, really big, but this one is modeled differently. What he has done is he started this company, and he will align a certain roast, a certain brand line to a veteran-owned charity. And so the profits from that product line will then be, routed to that charity. And so super excited about it because he's already working with a couple other organizations, some that focus on PTSD, and one is K9s for Warriors, which I think is really, really cool, being a dog lover myself. But that's something we're really looking forward to. And so hopefully really soon, you guys should be able to start ordering some wonderful Costa Rican blend coffee, either directly from A Warm Cup for Joe or through Resurgence PPG. And that product will actually help fund Resurgence and our supportive candidates.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's cool because, through the conversations, Alex really has gotten into researching paramotors and whatnot. And we've been swapping emails about, training and how he can get into the sport. And the last email I got from him tonight was that his wife is kind of on board. He thinks he's going to go ahead and get the money set aside to go ahead and get into it. So he's going to be flying here soon. And another company we're looking forward to working with is bluealphagear.com. The president is Kurt Sills. He trained PPGs down at Aviator. And he does tactical belts. He's more in the firearm industry, but he's a PPG pilot. He has a passion for flight and whatnot. And he reached out to us, and so we want to go ahead and do something with him. But it's folks like that have really made it possible for us to impact the veterans that we have. And I can't thank the donors enough.
We need to have that guy on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get him on the show. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem at all.
So funny. That's my life now. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Would you like to be on the show? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, let me have your email.
Yeah, come on.
You're going to be on the show.
You're free Thursday night. You can get on the show.
Every Thursday. Thursdays come quick, man. I'm like, oh gosh, I need to come. I need to have somebody on. I have nobody for next week.
Oh, we can get you somebody for next week.
Okay, good.
So, but the last thing real quick, people have been bugging me about t-shirts. And so if they go to resurgencepppg.com, they can now find a storefront page, click on the store page, and I have a limited number of those shirts available. So go ahead and order the shirts, and the proceeds from that obviously go to supporting our disabled and adaptive veterans as well.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, this past year has been great. We've been able to impact some lives. Really looking forward to what we're able to do in 2019. So
I love it,
and
man.
Ryan goes running away.
Yeah, he has to go get a charger. He's got to get a charger for his computer. So I've got a couple things that I want to give away, and I didn't cut you off, right?
No, we're good. Thank you.
We so I do. By the way, go to resurgencepppg.com and check out what his organization is doing. If you didn't piece that together, that is something awesome that he's doing, and the show has actually donated some money to that. We fully support and endorse what you're doing over there, and I really appreciate your service as well. I'm glad that you're still with us. I didn't know how crazy your story was until we had the after show last week, and you shared all those details. There's a few things that I want to cover while we have Ryan and Dan on, but just before we move on, real quickly, I want to give away one of the paragliding talk deals. Sean, if you've got somebody that you've already put in the basket or whatever, we're going to give that away, and then we're going to give away the smoke machine, the first smoke machine for the PPG smoke. You ready, Sean?
Not really. I didn't write anybody's name down. Usually it's the third week of the month, Robert.
That's okay.
So
That's okay.
I hadn't written any names down.
That's
you
okay.
know.
I'll give you a space time. You come up with with an idea how you're going to give away. I've already selected the person who won the smoke machine.
Excellent.
And, that is taken care of. But
It's Todd Scandrett with Resurgence PPG.
So with that, let's segue into the discussion about internal combustion. It's a life and death.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some theory behind that. I think there's a local individual that sort of leads thought around that, Michael Bream, and he's been guiding a lot of the stuff that we've been working on. In terms of the entropy behind, internal two-stroke combustion engines and their use in our sport, I think it's absolutely inevitable. And I think that we're living in an age right now where everything is transitioning away from, internal combustion and petroleum products to, electric. It's inevitable.
Yeah. You mentioned it before the show, computers.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game.
Well, I think in that regard, it's like we went through this technological evolution that we're still going through. And, not to be far out there, whatever, but I think it's literally happening right now in terms of the electric revolution. And there are these really interesting people that are really sort of leading that category and the mentality behind it. And we see these tiny bits of that in the paramotor community. And there are some engineers all over the world trying to solve similar problems. How do you fly, in a renewable manner without compromising the things that are most important? Flight time, weight, accessibility, cost, those things.
Like Johnny mentions in the chat, keeping the batteries from blowing up on your back. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of math and science that goes into that, and that's more of a mental thing in today's day and age than it is actually feasible. Like, everybody associates electrical technology and the evolution thereof of like these things, these chemical packs that can spontaneously combust. And there have been instances with like Samsung where it's rung home and registered for the kind of normal individual. But in the capacity that we've been working on our project, it's just not nearly as feasible because there are so many things in play, like how much amperage we're drawing against a battery or an individual battery cell makes it really safe.
Yeah, I'm interested to. Oh, by the way, have you already flown one?
We have not.
I'm willing to
Guinea pig?
Take it up. Yeah, if you need a guy. I don't have a whole lot of motor experience, so keep that in mind.
Just run and squeeze.
Yeah. But I have some canopy hours. I'm under canopy.
Yeah.
Sean, can you read the chat? The private chat. Okay. So I see you over there writing down all those names, and I want to save you. And I muted you because I could hear your scissors. I was talking to Mike, who is one of the guys that helped you with the initial stages and some of the science of it. And then you have Dan, who is taking care of the crunching numbers. And we joked around before the show, and I told him that we're going to pull out a calculator and that we were going to ask him some questions that demanded answers, and then make sure that his math was correct. And
I thought you were serious for a second.
I think he's so serious. Here it comes.
We were in a very serious moment talking about the show and details of the show, so it was pretty funny. But what I was getting at is we have it's a revolution as far as the motors, the size of motors. In my background, I'm engineering for a high rise. I'm looking for, I took a class on motors for high efficiency motors. So I'm understanding what goes into making a better quality motor. I was talking with Mike at Torrey Pines. We were discussing some of the new cutting edge technology with the Tesla motors, and the size of batteries has changed. And so this is actually an option to put a paramotor that's electric in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Dan is taking a pretty big role in that on a go-forward basis, meaning he's going to be essentially standing up the same engineering efforts that we've had in San Diego here at EV West in New Jersey. And the role is just to kind of work in parallel and, speaking here, the batteries and the feasibility. The battery technology is a step factor over time, meaning the capacity, energy density in which your time will continue to improve. And so your frame, motor, throttle, etc., those are all sort of ancillary things that you can create now and benefit from the evolution of the batteries down the road. Right. So the idea is that we're doing a bunch of predicate engineering work to solve for what we know will improve over time.
And so you started this. Would you say it's a company? Zero is that is that accurate to say that?
Yeah, I think right now it's a dumping ground for ideas. And one of the things that we have been kind of focused on is just sharpening our pencils, making the right component picks, finding the right individuals in the right roles to help solve for the grander sort of problem at hand here, which is sort of like the smoke machine, commoditizing and reducing prices and being accessible to anyone. And the reality is internal combustion sitting on a couple $100,000 for internal combustion right now, because it's literally now globally working on this.
Bad connection. So, one more time, that last sentence that you just said was really chopped up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that if, there are a lot of paramotor schools sitting on a lot of inventory, internal combustion inventory, and it's expensive. And it's just sort of, we're reaching that inflection point where owning that inventory and seeing all of these people developing in the electric space is, to me, slightly concerning. It's like, it's also kind of telling as to where things are headed.
Very interesting. So production roadmap, talk about that a little bit.
So right now, we're cycling through a variety of different components. It's not as straightforward as anyone would hope. Like, getting this really right in a repeatable, scalable fashion is not easy. And a lot of the components that are out there are geared toward other applications. So we're grabbing things and prototyping on things and making decisions on things that may not exist a year from now. So it's in terms of the roadmap itself, we're just cycling through the engineering, standing up the effort in New Jersey, getting thrust tests done and comparing different motors, ESC combos, different voltages on battery packs, etc. Very, very early stage.
Interesting. Dan, what's your takeaways from progress and where you guys are at?
Well, yeah, like Ryan said, we're basically focused on just like component picks, and those aren't even like set in stone at this point. But in the next week, I'm going to start doing some serious testing, and we'll have a lot more answers to that. Just waiting on things to arrive really right now. And also I'm going to start working on firmware design programming, probably within the next few days.
Yeah,
excellent.
So really excited. I think there's a lot that can be done for the sport that's going to make it, particularly going electric. I think there's a lot that can be done to make the sport way safer. Yeah. And I think that's a great focus that we can really take a lot from.
I love it. By the way, I like your shirt, the Risky Biscuits.
Thanks. Yeah, I know this guy that I don't know. He flies around here somewhere.
So you get to fly with him all the time, from what I understand, or when he's in town.
Yeah, when he's around. But yeah,
so he's not too far from me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, I was checking out his videos. I must have watched 30 videos a couple of years ago, and I watched every video from his aerial point of view, and it's just wow, this looks like it's in Ohio or the Midwest or something. And then it turns out he lives maybe 3 miles away from me. So it's just kind of funny how that happens.
That is awesome. You're like, wait a second, that looks like my neighborhood.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. There was just like one clip of like a road, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that. You know?
Here's a McDonald's. I've been to that McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I do want to just real quick, we've got about 5 minutes for questions and comments, and I know that there's going to be a bunch. Please feel free to leave comment. By the way, if you win something from the show, please post it on your social media and let people know about the show. That's the ultimate goal, is to get more people on here. People aren't really going to watch the show that are not pilots. So like right now we have 105 people watching. That's insane. We typically break about 75, 80 a show. And so there's a whole handful of people that are here, probably because of an email from Ryan Roberts, and then also just the excitement of the giveaway stuff. By the way, Sean, you have your person selected.
You know what? I got a list here. 100 names. I'll tell you what, I'm working overtime, man. I'm gonna have to get a raise. Feel free to send me one of those smokes machines, by the way.
Send me your address, man. I'll shoot you one.
Turning me a little gray here, Robert. Okay, here we go. You tell me when to stop shuffling. Tell me when.
Okay, do it.
All right, here we go. We've got a winner, Starfighter 1.
Starfighter 1.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
chicken scratch. I had to write 100 names down as fast as I could.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
Starflyer, he's won before.
Starfighter.
Wait,
1.
that's my other username. I'm just kidding. It's me, guys.
Does that
Just joking.
Does that disqualify him?
No, it doesn't. That's
Okay.
hilarious.
Well, congratulations,
He's in
Starfighter
the chat.
1.
Okay, and then the other one, this is actually I'm giving two of them away because I have an extra one. Toledo Boys gets the other one. That comment about giving up on Thursday Night Football won me over. So Toledo, send me your details so I can send one out to you. And you can do that at paraglidingtalk.com. Go in the comments. Make sure that you mention that you won the contest, and that is how we can send you this stuff. We have the big winner tonight. The name selected. Let me go into the generator here for the smoke machine. I'm pulling it up right here. Oh, I can't put I was going to put his details on the live stream, but it has too much information. It's Robert Durbin. Robert Durbin,
Oh,
you
nice
are
job.
the
Nice.
winner.
Way to go, Robert.
Congratulations, Robert Durbin. I have your details. You don't have to send anything. But if you want to get in the contest, we're going to be giving away 51 more of these. Okay. You can pretty much, half of you will get one if you just continue to watch the show each week on Thursday nights. The only thing I fear is that because there's a lot of pilots now, I'm finding out. And once everybody finds out, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to go watch the show. I don't even care what they're talking about. I just want one of those things for free. However it works out, I'm glad that you're here. And the goal of the show is to make our sport last long, and safety aspects like our show tonight, cutting edge technologies. We're going to be the first to talk about it live and be a part of it live. The next couple shows that are coming up are going to be good ones. We're going to talk a lot about safety and moving into the, we're going to talk to some of the guys that are in VIA and some of the free flight stuff. So if you're a free flight guy, stay tuned. There's some big stuff coming up with the Red Bull X Alps. I'm excited about some of the things that are happening with that. We're going to have some big names on. The owner of Little Cloud, I'm trying to remember his name, Thomas, is actually going to come on the show. That's going to be a good one. You're not going to want to miss these shows. So I want to encourage you, if you're interested in promoting the show and keeping the show going, financially support the show through Patreon or through PayPal. You can do that. There's links in the description. There's a whole list of people who are supporting the show on Patreon. I really appreciate all of you that have been supporting the show from the beginning. Some of you guys, your gifts have exceeded my wildest imaginations. You have really just been awesome, especially through Christmas. Thanks for all the one-off gifts. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate everybody who's been a part of the show. Moderators, guys who have supported the show, just with being in the chat every week. It makes it so awesome. Johnny Wisconsin is the one that made these and sent these out and gave me a whole box of these to give away. And, my first instinct was like, oh, yes, I can sell them. Sell them for what? Let's give them away. Let's make the show super fun. I love Ryan, his spirit about let's just dump these things. I'm going to give 52 of them. Let's give away one every show for a year. And I'm like, what? I thought he was joking at first. I thought you were trolling me. And so I'm just, it's so fun, man. I really appreciate everybody. So if you are catching the show later, okay, if you're catching the show and it's not live, and there's a whole bunch of people that watch the show in the after fact, please leave comments or questions. And if you have questions about what Ryan and Dan are talking about, I think we need to do another show, Ryan. We didn't even scratch the surface of what I think we need to do another one. So we're going to do part 2 of Matt Minyard, and we're going to do a part 2, Ryan and Dan, if you can do it, and we'll set that up very soon.
You know what we should do is we should do a deep dive maybe as we get a little bit further in engineering efforts and standing that up in New Jersey. We maybe have Dan lead that one. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it yet. I'm just throwing it his way.
Yeah, I'd be open to that.
The idea would be to just walk through where we're at, like be real in engineering where we're at.
Yeah.
Ooh, that
sounds
awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that there'd be some people interested in that, including myself.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys want, we're going to have a short after show. If you guys won something and I send it to you, please post it on social media. You can tag the Facebook page that we have for the show. Neil heads that up. And so if you've got those, if you haven't applied for that, by the way, you have to apply to become a part of the Facebook group. Make sure you apply for that. There's going to be some of the giveaways are going to involve the Facebook page and social media stuff. By the way, very soon we're going to be creating an Instagram for the show. Somebody tuned me into that. Actually, it was Ryan. Ryan mentioned that. So we're going to do that. We're going to get some more outlets, and then we're also talking about creating some podcast. So where we rip some of the shows, put them on a site so that you guys can get a hold of those and listen to them maybe when you're driving to your site. And anyways, great ideas, all kinds of stuff. So appreciate 105 viewers now. Where are they coming from? You guys are awesome. Really appreciate everybody. We'll talk to you and see you next Thursday. Don't miss a single episode. Go to paraglidingtalk.com. Check out the past episodes. Fly safe. And if I don't see you in the air, I'll see you on the air. Appreciate everybody tonight. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.